So you're interested in learning everything there is to know about filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina. Well, thankfully you've come to the right place. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the Ascend Finance YouTube channel, where we help folks understand the cost and qualification for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina. We actually built a free Chapter 7 calculator so you can estimate the cost, qualification, and pros and cons of filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina. Whether you live in a smaller town or a huge city, the Chapter 7 calculator actually gives you specific results based on your zip code and personal situation. Now, in today's video, I'm going to cover a few things. First being the cost to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina. Then I'm going to start talking about how to qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina. Third, I'll go through, are your assets even protected if you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina? And then fourth, I'll wrap it up with, should you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy in South Carolina? Now, keep in mind though, this video is really just for informational purposes and should not be construed as any kind of legal advice. Okay, as I'm sure you're trying to research as much as you can right now, let's dive into the first thing, how much it costs to file in South Carolina. When it comes to filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy, there are several factors an attorney may consider when estimating a total all-in cost estimate to file. Now, to clarify, here's a few things that an attorney may look at when they're trying to determine how much they may charge someone for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. First, it could be due to the complexity of the case. So the more complex it is, the more they may charge. Another one could be how urgent the person needs to file. Third, the years of experience the attorney has. So if they've been doing this for a long time, they may charge more than someone that just started filing. Now, fourth, the potential client's cash flow. Now, this is not always the case, but sometimes attorneys may charge less depending on the cash flow of the client they are help filing. And then five, the location. So it really is more state-based depending on where they're at, but sometimes it can get real granular depending where you are in the state, as they may charge more or less depending where you're at. Okay, so now that we kind of touched on a little bit of each of them, I want to go into each piece more in depth. So let's first look at the complexity of the case. So this is generally going to refer to whether or not you have any assets you like protected. So if the client has assets, it can sometimes take longer for the attorney to file the case. There's more work involved, all the above. Next, urgency to file. Whether you must file for bankruptcy within the next few days or months, an attorney may charge more or less depending on how long they have to prepare the bankruptcy. Third, the attorney's years of experience. This is one more of the more straightforward things, but if an attorney has been filing bankruptcies for a long time, they may charge more than someone that's just getting into their practice. So it really depends. Fourth, attorneys may consider a client's cash flow when charging a fee, right? So sometimes they may charge a smaller fee as a courtesy. Still, the average fee is usually charged regardless of the client's cash flow. Now, finally, the location. So this, like I said, is more relative to state versus state, as some states may have an average Chapter 7 fee of $2,000 versus another state at $1,200. Before moving to the next part, qualifying for a Chapter 7, if you want to estimate the cost to file for a bankruptcy based on your specific zip code, you can easily take our free Chapter 7 calculator that's actually linked below. It's 100% free and you don't even have to add an email address. Now let's dive into how to actually qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So there's going to be three main factors to understand when determining your ability to qualify and file for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. First is income, second is expenses, and third is assets. Each state has an income limit set for your household size, considered the means test income limit. Now, I'm going to put the income limit for the state on the screen, but keep in mind that the means test updates every so often. That being said, you can take the free calculator that's actually linked in the description below that can be helpful to understand the most up-to-date means test data for estimating your qualification for Chapter 7. Now let's talk about expenses, as the means test has a couple of parts. The first part mainly considers your gross household income versus the income limit for your household size. The second part generally considers your disposable income. Sometimes individuals may fail the first part of the means test by making too much money but pass the second part, as the court finds that they don't have enough disposable income. Finally, let's chat through how assets are essential to a Chapter 7 decision-making process. Now, although having assets may not impact your qualification for a Chapter 7, it may impact your decision to file. Almost every state has its exemptions that filers can use to protect certain belongings from being liquidated during the bankruptcy filing process. The main assets folks are worried about losing are their homes and cars. Now, before I dive too deep into how they're really treated in a bankruptcy, I want to say if this video is helpful for you, or if you feel like it could be, really helpful for someone you know, feel free to light up that like button below. Show this video to more people if it has more likes, and we'd like to think that this video can be helpful to those dealing with a stressful situation. Now that we've covered how assets may impact Chapter 7 from a high level, let's dive into it more to explain how that all works. There are what I'll call the 2 E's that can help you estimate the risk of losing your assets when filing Chapter 7. Equity and exemptions. One of the most common assets individuals are concerned about losing is their home. So let's use that for this example, and actually add a link into an article in the description below that covers more about the homestead exemption. So if you have less equity than the homestead, it actually could be protected if you file Chapter 7. On the other hand, if you have $50,000 more than the homestead, then it may be at risk of being sold during the bankruptcy process. So what do you do then if you have more equity than the state exemption, but you don't want to lose your home? Of course, it's going to come up to your decision, but there may be other options to consider. I'd actually dive into each alternative option in some of my other videos. However, if you don't have time to watch those videos, you can actually just take our general debt options calculator that I'll link in the description below as well, which will break down the cost, duration, and pros and cons of bankruptcy and different alternatives. Okay, finally, should you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy? Ultimately, everyone's situation is unique and it's going to be up to you, but if you're finding that either A, you may have too much equity in an asset that you're worried about losing, or B, you're just not sure whether Chapter 7 is right for you, you can take the Chapter 7 calculator below. It'll help you at least understand whether you qualify for a Chapter 7 and what the cost would look like for you, as well if you wanted to compare to alternative options if you're just not sure what to do. That said, you're welcome to also call us at 833-272-3631, and we will chat through your situation and try to help you understand kind of the different options based on what you're going through. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're able to get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. Take care.